The wedding was approaching fast, and my fiancé had become unusually excited. He was bursting with energy every single day. One night before bed, I heard him taking a phone call out on the balcony. "You'll need to work harder on handling things on Olivia's end. She's about to give birth, and I really don't feel at ease about her. Make sure your act is convincing. Don't let anyone find out. We'll switch back at the wedding. Oh, and try on the wedding gown for me tomorrow. Make sure it's white." A moment later, I heard a soft, "Got it," from the balcony. I pressed my lips together and smiled. Switching places wasn't a big deal. We could still switch back during the wedding. When Mason came back into the room, I had just finished changing into my pajamas and was pulling the strap of my top back over my shoulder. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. "Wifey?" he called out smoothly. I gave him a curious look and tapped his forehead. "Who are you calling wifey? We're not married yet, and you're already saying that? I don't accept it." He smiled without saying a word and just buried his face into my shoulder, nuzzling against me. Mason had the same perfect face as his older twin brother Noah, but he was more affectionate and full of little tricks. To put it simply, he was sweet and skilled in bed. Honestly, compared to my fiancé, I found myself paying more attention to this younger twin brother. That's probably why I was really enjoying this game of switching places. I turned around in Mason's arms, draped my hands over his shoulders, and exhaled softly. "Who were you calling just now, hiding from me like that? What, got yourself a little secret lover now?" Mason chuckled and kissed the corner of my lips. "Not telling, it's a secret." Then he lifted me up in one motion and knelt onto the bed with one knee. After a night of intense passion, I was completely drained, so much so that I couldn't even lift a finger. As always, Mason made sure I was well fed afterward. Warm morning light filtered through the curtain seams and fell across my face. From behind, Mason wrapped his arms around me and gently kissed me several times, each one soft and lingering. "Morning, Zoe," he said tenderly. "It's a new day. Aren't you gonna kiss me?" There it was again, his clingy side. But I didn't mind it at all. Smiling, I rolled over, grabbed his tie, tilted my head, and gave him a long, 2-minute kiss. "There. Is that reward enough? I'm exhausted. I don't have your kind of stamina. Let me sleep a bit more. I still have to try on the wedding dresses later." Mason licked his lips and grunted softly, just holding me close without saying another word. I went back to sleep and spent the whole morning catching up on rest. By the time I woke up completely, it was just about time for the dress fitting. The assistants wheeled in rack after rack of gowns into the room. Each rack carried wedding dresses from top designer brands. On another row, there were various suits that had taken 3 months to tailor. Technically, those suits were made for Noah, the man I was supposed to marry. But since they were twins, Mason could easily wear them too. The measurements were basically the same. Stretching out with a long yawn, I got up and started trying on the dresses. Each time I put on a new one, Mason's eyes lit up a bit more. By the time I reached the third gown, a delicate tulle one in a soft bluish green, he stood up and came over to my side, his eyes fixed on me as if glued in place. "You're really beautiful, Zoe," he said in a husky voice. Of course, I knew I looked good. I gave him a bashful smile. "Like this one?" "Yeah, I really do." "Then go try on a suit. Let's see which one matches this." Mason leaned down and gave me a brief kiss. "Pick one for me." "Sure." I walked over to the rack of suits and flipped through them one by one, then picked out a white set and a black one. "Try both of these." Mason glanced at me with a smile in his eyes and took the suits I handed him. While he was changing, his phone buzzed from where it was lying on the couch. A few messages popped up on the screen. "Starting with the suits already? Make sure to pick a white tie. Just go with what looks best. Cover up the tattoo when you're changing. Don't let Zoe see it. Don't want her getting suspicious." I raised an eyebrow. This guy sure was busy. His little sweetheart was almost due, and he still hadn't forgotten to remind his brother to pick out a suit. I only gave the messages a quick glance before calmly turning my gaze away. Mason tried on both suits and asked for my opinion. I strolled over and walked around him twice, then picked out a tie and fastened it around his neck myself. "This black one," I said. "It's perfect." Mason gripped my hand tightly and pulled me into his arms, speaking with indulgent affection. "All right, if Zoe likes it, we'll go with this one. After finishing the fitting, Mason headed back to the office. We were currently staying in my apartment. Noah rarely came around anymore, and Mason had more or less taken his place, treating the place like our future home. He came over almost every day, saying he missed me. I teased him once, saying, "We'll be seeing each other every day once we're married." He huffed. "That's in the future. I want to see you every day now." I didn't really mind. After all, I wasn't the one putting in all the effort. After resting a bit and fully recovering my energy, I made myself a cup of black tea and wandered into the study. Curling up in the swivel chair, I crossed my legs and rested my head in my hand as I watched the chat window open on my computer. The last time Noah came to my place, he'd used my study to host an emergency company meeting. Out of habit, he hadn't logged out of his personal WeChat afterward. Mason, on the other hand, never came into the study. Whenever he got here, he headed straight for the bedroom to find me. So neither of them had any idea that I had a place where I could read their chat history. "Got the wedding suit picked out?" "Yeah." "How's the acting going lately? Has Zoe gotten suspicious?" "Nope. It's going smoothly. She hasn't noticed anything." Humming a little tune, I scrolled slowly through the chat. "Thanks for everything, Mason. Just hold on a little longer. Only 3 months left until the wedding. Olivia's belly's getting big, and her mood's all over the place. I really can't leave her right now. It's fine, I should be helping. Oh, by the way, Zoe's birthday is in a month. I ordered a set of jewelry for her. Come pick it up when you have time." "No need. I already got her something." "You did? When?" "Not long ago. If we're going to put on a show, we have to go all the way. If I'm going to act as you, I need to know everything about Zoe." "You really are thorough. With you handling things, I feel at ease." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looks like among the three of us, Noah was the most clueless. He didn't even realize what his own brother was plotting. I took a sip of black tea and kept scrolling. "If you love Olivia so much, why don't you just call off the engagement and marry her?" "Noah, how could I call it off? I'm just having some fun on the side. My heart still belongs to Zoe. I still love her the most. Once Olivia gives birth, I'll send both of them abroad. I'll make sure she never finds out. Before the wedding, I don't want anything going wrong. That's why you need to keep playing your role well, and help cover for me at the company too. Once this all passes, we'll switch back." Mason didn't reply again. That was where the chat history ended. I crossed one leg over the other and tilted my head, loosening my neck a bit before leaning back into the chair and finishing my cup of black tea. Suddenly, the computer screen showed a message. WeChat has been logged in from another device. I narrowed my eyes. Looks like Noah finally remembered that his personal WeChat was still logged into my computer. One less source of entertainment, I guess. That evening, Mason came home much earlier than usual, but instead of coming to find me for our usual routine, he went straight to the study. I stood at the doorway, drying my freshly washed hair with a towel. "What's up? Still working overtime tonight?" Mason stared at the computer screen, which had already gone into sleep mode. He paused for just a moment before giving me a casual smile. "Nothing, just came to look for something." He slipped off his suit jacket and hung it over the back of the chair, then walked toward me with those long legs I liked so much. "Zoe, have you used the study lately?" I tossed my damp hair over one shoulder. "Nope, you know me, the study's always just been decoration." Mason didn't say anything. I pretended to look him over for a few seconds, then let out a laugh. I reached out and hooked my finger around his belt, tugging him toward me. I traced lightly from his chest to his abdomen, playful and teasing. "What, are you worried there's something shady on my computer? Think I've got some secret lover stashed away? Or maybe it's you who left something behind on there?" Mason's gaze darkened suddenly. I leaned in and bit his throat playfully in a mock punishment. He let out a soft laugh above me, then pinned me against the wall with one hand supporting my back. "Zoe, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I ever suspect you? You think there's another man out there better than me? I love you so much I'd give you my life." I tilted my head with a smile and leaned in to kiss him. What followed was the same as it was every night between us. In the heat of passion, I deliberately moaned, "Noah." As expected, he held me tighter. he was still just as aggressive. And I completely enjoyed it. Mason nibbled on my ear and whispered, "Baby, don't call me by my name again." I played dumb. "Why not?" His voice was steady now. "I like it better when you call me husband or baby." Truthfully, the very first day the twins switched places, I had already figured out that the man standing in front of me wasn't my fiancé. Because the emotions in Mason's eyes were far too raw and intense, like a starving wolf who hadn't eaten in days. It didn't take me long to piece it all together. After all, Noah had been acting suspicious for a while. He often got pulled away during our dates by sudden phone calls, always using the excuse of some emergency work issue at the company. I never cared. People like us, our relationships and marriages were mostly just for show, mutually beneficial arrangements. Besides, I liked Noah's face a lot, so I'd agreed to the engagement without hesitation. In our world, whether a man was married or not, none of them were without a few women on the side. Same goes for the women, most kept a few men at arm's reach too. I was just pickier. So far I hadn't seen anyone better looking than Noah. But when Mason showed up, to be honest, I was stunned. He had the same face as Noah, the one I was already so drawn to, but with a more wild, untamed energy. I just didn't know yet whether he could perform. That mystery made the game even more intriguing to me. I was more than happy to play along. And Mason didn't disappoint. That night, my soul felt like it was floating in the clouds, far beyond reach. Afterward, he held me in his arms, gently playing with strands of my hair, nibbling on my ear, as he whispered, "Zoe, I'm so happy. I finally have you." I lifted my eyelids slowly and reached up to brush the damp hair from his forehead, revealing those gleaming eyes. I let my fingers trace down from his brows to his lips, my smile affectionate. "Don't be so sure," I murmured. "We're not married yet. You'd better be careful. I might just run away." There was a fire burning in Mason's eyes, but it was hard to tell what kind of fire it was. He didn't say a word. He just held me tightly. From that day on, the role-switching game officially began. According to Noah's plan, after 2 months, once Olivia had given birth, the brothers would switch back in secret, right before the wedding, without anyone ever knowing. But things didn't go as smoothly as he expected. Today was the 70th birthday celebration of the patriarch of the Foster family, the current head of the household. An event this important obviously required both grandsons to be present at the same time. And yet, even under these circumstances, the two of them hadn't switched back. I didn't know whether it was one of them refusing to change places or both. As for me, I didn't really care. Not switching made everything even more thrilling. What made it even more entertaining was that I actually saw Olivia heavily pregnant at the banquet. Noah sure had guts. He really brought her here in broad daylight, without even trying to hide her. Just like the photo my assistant had sent me, she had fair skin, long flowing hair, and despite being pregnant, her figure hadn't changed much. Even from behind, she could easily make a man lose his mind. How amusing. I tucked a lock of curled hair behind my ear and stepped over in my high heels, offering a polite greeting. "You look unfamiliar. I don't think we've met before." "Hello, I'm Zoe." Olivia turned around in surprise, clearly startled. The pastry in her hand dropped to the floor with a soft thud. I ignored her clumsiness and extended my hand in a friendly gesture. She glanced me up and down quickly, then something seemed to cross her mind, and she returned a radiant smile. Lifting her chin slightly, she shook my hand. "Hi, I'm Olivia. My husband's last name is Foster." I put on just the right amount of surprise. What a coincidence. My fiancé's last name is also Foster. What are the odds? Before she could respond, a man rushed over to her side and gently supported her. He whispered, "Didn't I tell you to stay put? I turn around for 1 second and you're gone. Do you know how worried I was? You're pregnant. What if someone bumped into you?" Olivia stuck out her tongue playfully. "Sorry, I got a little hungry and just came over for some cake. Don't be mad, I won't run off again." The man let out a breath of relief. But when he looked up and saw me, he froze for a brief moment. I caught the flicker of awkwardness that crossed his face. I pretended not to notice, parting my lips in feigned surprise. "Mason?" At the sound of my voice, Mason appeared on my other side, dressed sharply in a tailored suit. He walked straight over and wrapped a firm arm around my waist. I gave Noah a knowing look. You two brothers really are alike. I almost couldn't tell you apart just now. So Olivia is Mason's girlfriend? No wonder she said her husband's last name was Foster. Congratulations, Mason. You're going to be a dad. I turned with a bright smile toward the man beside me, pressing my chest closer to his arm. But you too. Why didn't you bring your beautiful girlfriend around for us to meet earlier, huh? Don't you think so, baby? Noah's gaze stayed locked on the spot where Mason and I were standing so close together. His brows furrowed slightly. He didn't say a word for a long while. I tilted my head up toward Mason and said sweetly, "Why is your brother ignoring me?" Mason smiled and stepped forward, putting on the attitude of an older brother. "Hey, your sister-in-law's talking to you. Why aren't you answering?" Noah's expression darkened. Eventually, he gave me a stiff nod and muttered a reluctant sister-in-law. I had to admit this was hilarious. My real fiancé had just called me sister-in-law in front of his younger brother, while looking absolutely furious. This moment definitely deserved to be recorded. It was a moment worth replaying 20 times. I gave a soft, graceful smile. All right. I get it, you two are head over heels for each other. We'll leave you alone. Let's catch up later if there's time. Leaning lightly against Mason, I turned and looked up at him with a playful glint. Baby, let's go dance over there. It's been a while since we danced together. I kinda miss it. Mason gently tapped the tip of my nose. Sure. Whatever you want to do, I'm with you. Noah's face visibly darkened, but no one cared, except Olivia. Mason, completely unabashed, wrapped his arm around me right in front of Noah and led me through the crowd to the dance floor. Mason was an excellent dancer, and I wasn't half bad myself, so our movements were perfectly in sync. It was nearly flawless. With every spin, though, I could catch glimpses of Noah at his table, his expression as sharp as a blade. I couldn't help but smile wider. When the song ended, a round of applause erupted around us. Vice President Foster and Miss Song really are such a loving couple. A match made in heaven, handsome and beautiful, they're perfect together. They're not even married yet, and already this sweet. Once they tie the knot, Vice President Foster will have to spoil his wife to the moon. If only my husband treated me half as well. Taking advantage of the flattery, I stood on tiptoe and gave Mason a kiss right on the lips in front of everyone. Mason responded instantly, wrapping his arms around my waist and deepening the kiss possessively. The crowd clapped and cheered around us, everyone except Noah. His shoulders were stiff, his face was stormy, and his whole posture radiated tension. As we left the dance floor, I held Mason's hand, catching Noah's cold, brooding stare. I feigned a light-hearted sigh. Oh no, looks like someone's upset. Olivia stood off to the side, calling Noah's name several times, but he didn't respond. My mood, on the other hand, couldn't have been better. I waved a quick goodbye to Mason, ignored Noah's gaze entirely, and turned toward the restroom. In front of the mirror, I touched up my makeup. Every woman who walked in greeted me with a smile. The Foster family had enough power and prestige, and the Song family, my family, wasn't lacking either. I had always been someone others looked up to. After drying my hands, I stepped out and in a corner spotted the two brothers talking. Noah's voice was low. Mason, I only asked you to help me stall Zoe, not actually pretend to be her boyfriend. She's still your future sister-in-law, no matter what. Even if it's just an act, you should maintain some boundaries. Mason leaned casually against the wall, the same face as Noah's but wearing a much more relaxed expression. I know, but at events like this, we have to keep up appearances. Zoe kissed me first. I couldn't exactly dodge it. Could I? Or would you rather I make her suspicious? Noah scowled. Wait, Zoe's that forward with you all the time? You haven't done anything with her, right? Mason scoffed. No? Then who's the one acting like a starving wolf every night? Forget it. If you're not okay with how I'm handling things, then let's switch back right now. You go explain it to Olivia yourself. At the mention of Olivia, Noah's expression faltered slightly. He hesitated, then softened his tone. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not accusing you. It's just, things with Olivia are still complicated. I need more time to sort it out. At least wait until the baby's born. As for Zoe, I really need you to hold the line a few more months. We'll switch back before the wedding. Seeing they were just about done, I called out in a gentle voice, grabbing a drink, not too strong, and downed it in one go. Then, with slightly unsteady steps, I walked straight toward the two of them. Noah instinctively looked over when he heard his name. But right in front of him, I fell straight into Mason's arms. I hooked my arms around his neck and nuzzled into the space by his collarbone. "Baby, I think I'm drunk," I murmured, voice sticky sweet. "I want to go home. Can we go home now?" Even I got goosebumps from how cloying I sounded. Noah stepped toward me, brows furrowed, reaching out to support me. "You're drunk. I'll have someone bring you sobering soup." But Mason blocked him without hesitation. "No need. I've got it covered. Your sister-in-law's drunk. I'll take her home. Please explain to Grandpa for me." He gently patted the top of my head, then bent down and scooped me up in one smooth motion, carrying me in his arms, bridal style, as he brushed past Noah. I let my head rest comfortably on his shoulder, and opened my eyes just enough to catch a glimpse of Noah's face, ashen and tight, with veins visibly pulsing at his temple. It wasn't until we exited the banquet hall that I finally left his suffocating stare behind. Over the next month, I continued sleeping when I needed to sleep, both in the literal and metaphorical sense. While I stayed rested, preparations for the wedding progressed steadily. The only thing that changed was how often Mason took phone calls. His phone rang constantly at night. If I didn't already know who was on the other end, I might have suspected he had a mistress too. One night, after another round of wild and satisfying sex, Mason got up to take a shower. His phone buzzed twice on the nightstand. I couldn't help my curiosity. I picked it up, wondering what Noah had to say now. Staring at the lock screen for a moment, I typed in my birthday. It unlocked instantly. The chat popped open. "Noah, Olivia has been transferred to the postpartum recovery center. She's being taken care of now. We'll switch back tomorrow. She had a premature birth, so she's probably not in great shape. No rush, stay and help a few more days if needed." "No need, I'll come see Zoe tomorrow. You go back to your own place. You took care of Olivia through her whole pregnancy for 4 months. What's a few more days of postpartum recovery? Don't you want to switch back? I'm just thinking about both of you." The thread paused there for a while. Then came a newer message from Noah. "Noah Mason, let me warn you, don't covet what doesn't belong to you. Don't forget, you're only acting. You're not really Zoe's boyfriend. I am. Tomorrow we go back to our real roles." I narrowed my eyes, back to their places? As if things could go back so easily. I placed the phone right where I'd found it. Mason came out of the shower, still damp, and crawled into bed beside me. He kissed me gently. I pouted, annoyed. "Your phone's been ringing non-stop. Who is it this time? Which lucky girl can't stop calling you?" He tugged the blanket up over both our waists and replied lazily, "Scammers. Just ignore them. Let's sleep." "Scammers, huh? Honestly, not a bad answer. 2 scammers. Make that 3, if you count me." The next day, Mason left early for the office. I curled up on the sofa reading through the Song Corporation's latest financial reports. Not long after, the front door swung open. I thought Mason had come back for something, but when I looked up, it was my actual fiancé, Noah. He walked in like he owned the place, casually taking off his jacket and smiling as if nothing had happened. "Zoe, I'm home." I stood up slowly and looked at him in silence for a few moments. He chuckled. "Mason, are you messing with me again? You trying to see if I can tell you apart from your brother? Come on, give me some credit." I smiled faintly. "What are you doing here? Looking for your brother? He just left for the office." The smile froze on Noah's face. After a long pause, he pointed at himself. "You think I'm Mason?" "What else would I think?" I asked with a smile. "You don't think I can recognize my own fiancé?" As I spoke, I watched the color drain from his face. "Why? Why would you think I'm Mason?" "Because," I said, drawing out the word as I walked toward him slowly, silk pajamas clinging to my body. I reached out and gently trailed my fingertip from the tip of his shoulder to the side of his neck. "There's no mark here from where I bit you last night." Noah's pupils contracted instantly. Whatever he was about to say was cut off by his phone ringing. He glanced at the screen, then immediately declined the call. But almost immediately, the phone rang a second time. Persistent, like a ghost refusing to let go. I felt like I was going to drop dead from secondhand annoyance. I stepped back a couple paces and gave Noah a pointed look, nodding toward the phone. "You better pick it up. From what your brother told me, your girlfriend already gave birth." Might be something urgent. Noah froze for a second. Eventually, with a stiff expression, he answered the call. I didn't need to guess, it had to be Olivia. The baby won't stop crying? Then feed him. What are you calling me for? If he's not hungry, give him to the postpartum nanny. What the hell am I paying all that money for if you can't handle it? You really want me to go to the hospital right now? Fine, I'll be there soon. Stop nagging. And that, right there, was the essence of men. Just hours ago at the banquet, he'd treated Olivia like the most precious thing in the world. But now that the baby was out, this was his attitude? What, she couldn't satisfy him anymore? Or did he suddenly remember how good his fiancé was? He hung up the phone, clearly irritated, and opened his mouth to say something. But I cut him off first. Babies cry a lot when they're just born. If something seems off, you should have a doctor check it out. Don't wait until it's serious. You should go, it sounded pretty urgent. I gestured casually to my outfit. I haven't changed yet, so I won't see you off. Then I turned and sank back onto the couch, clearly not planning to walk him out. Noah stood there for a moment. When he realized I wasn't going to acknowledge him any further, and with his phone ringing again, he finally grabbed his coat and left. But the sound of the door slamming behind him definitely carried more than a little frustration. I crossed one leg over the other and swung it lazily. Noah had just arrived and already got called away. Clearly Mason had a hand in that. Looks like this game was reaching its climax. That night it was Mason who came home, and he was even more passionate than usual. As soon as he stepped inside, he picked me up and pressed me against the door, his kisses fierce. I stayed calm and slow, taking my time to unbuckle his belt. Missed me that much today? He murmured, pinning me in place. I miss you like this every day. I didn't resist. Instead, I clung to him and teased him everywhere I knew he liked. Oh, by the way, I whispered, your brother came by today. First thing he said when he walked in was, Zoe, like we were so close. Scared the hell out of me. Mason froze for half a second, then tightened his grip around my waist. You didn't mistake him for me? Of course not, I said, biting his ear. I sleep with you every night. How could I not tell the difference? The pressure of his fingers on my waist increased sharply. That's right, baby, he murmured against my lips. And the one sleeping with you every night is me. With that, Mason lifted me with one arm and carried me to the couch in a few quick strides. 2 hours later, I picked up my clothes from the corner where they'd been tossed and got dressed. I walked to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Mason had also pulled on his pants and came up behind me, wrapping his arms around me tightly. Zoe, you're mine. You're no one else's. You belong to me. You're only allowed to marry me. He was deep in the role. All right, I said, patting his hands, signaling for him to let go. Just then, the front door suddenly opened. Noah stood in the doorway, crouching slightly, his eyes locked on ours. In that frozen moment, all 6 of our eyes met. Mason reacted first. He stepped in front of me protectively. But in the very next second, he was knocked to the ground with a punch. Noah's eyes were bloodshot, his face twisted in rage as he pummeled his brother. Each punch was thrown with full force. She's my woman, damn it, Mason. The scene quickly devolved into a full-blown brawl. I stood off to the side, occasionally shouting, "Stop fighting," or spinning in place dramatically, calling out, "Come on, don't be like this." Eventually, the tables turned. Noah ended up pinned beneath Mason, completely restrained. That's when I walked over and, pretending to be all concerned, gently pulled Mason away. "What the hell are you two doing?" I said, stepping between them. "Your brothers? What are you fighting about now?" I turned sharply toward Noah. "And you, showing up at my place this late and throwing punches without saying a word? What exactly is your problem?" The veins on the back of Noah's hand were bulging. He stared at me, furious. "Zoe, I'm Noah. I'm your damn fiancé." I gave him a look of disbelief. "What are you talking about? Didn't you just take your kid to the hospital this morning? Isn't your girlfriend Olivia? Come on, if you're gonna joke, at least know when to stop. You're seriously disturbing our rest." Noah was clearly agitated. "Disturbing your rest?" he scoffed. "What I interrupted was your little bedroom party, wasn't it?" I frowned and lowered my voice. "That's enough. I'm marrying your brother. Even if we were in bed together, what does that have to do with you?" Mason raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Marrying him? Noah's voice was sharp with disbelief. Zoe, open your eyes, look at who he really is. He grabbed Mason's arm and yanked it in front of me. Yes, we look alike, sometimes even Grandpa can't tell us apart. But you know, I don't have any tattoos. Mason does. He has a flower inked right here on his arm. I glanced at the spot he pointed to. He sounded so sure of himself. You haven't noticed it because he's been covering it with concealer, Noah insisted. But it's there. Look for yourself. Noah began rubbing at Mason's arm, trying to reveal the tattoo. But even after scrubbing until the skin turned red, there was nothing. No ink, no flower. How is this possible? He stammered. You got it removed? Noah looked up at Mason in disbelief. I couldn't help but laugh. Okay, enough. You've made your scene. It's getting late, so we won't keep you. Mason pulled his arm free and came to my side, slipping his arm possessively around my waist. With a smug grin, he added mockingly, That's right, big brother. Your girlfriend's recovering at a postpartum center, just gave birth to your baby. You should really be taking care of her. He tightened his grip around me. As for Zoe, she's my fiancé now. She'll be my wife. What does any of this have to do with you? You can't have everything, Noah. You should know that. His voice dripped with sarcasm and triumph. Noah's neck flushed red with rage, his teeth clenched so tightly I thought he might crack a molar. You son of a... And just like that, they were fighting again. I didn't bother stopping them this time. I was tired. If they wanted drama, I'd give them more. Let it blow up. The bigger, the better. I plopped down on the couch, propped up my head with one hand, and casually dialed Grandpa Foster. He was furious. Soon after, the Foster family sent people to bring all of us to the old estate. The moment we arrived, Grandpa slammed his cane down hard against the floor. Both brothers immediately dropped to their knees, but neither of them looked the least bit willing to back down. I sat off to the side, sipping tea handed to me by the butler. Foster Corporation was something Grandpa had built from scratch in his younger days. Even at nearly 70, no one dared challenge him, except maybe me. Everyone else held their breath. Noah looked especially tense. After all, he was the one who came up with the idea to switch places. He never could have predicted it would spiral this far out of control, and certainly not so absurdly, right in front of Grandpa. But this was exactly what I wanted. Noah lowered his head in silence, but Mason, cool and composed, laid everything out. He was smart enough to know that, in this setting, playing dumb wouldn't do any good. So when Mason calmly said the words, "We switched places," I accidentally knocked over my teacup. I covered my mouth in disbelief, blinking twice, then forced out a few tears. You actually. Mason, Noah, how could you? Unbelievable. Grandpa Foster's cane came crashing down, cutting off Mason before he could say another word. How did the Foster family end up raising two disgraceful little bastards like you? You've brought shame to us all. I sobbed, tears streaming like raindrops on pear blossoms, breathing so heavily I could barely get a word out. I looked as pitiful as I possibly could. Seeing me like that only made Grandpa even angrier. He was practically shaking with rage, eyes wide and mustache twitching. Without hesitation, he swung his cane again, once for each of them. He didn't hold back. Neither Mason nor Noah dared to flinch. You two stay here and kneel, he growled. You get up only when Zoe says you can, not a second sooner. Then Grandpa motioned for me to follow him into the study. I brought a tissue to my eyes, still dabbing at tears and sniffing as I walked in. The elderly man before me no longer looked fierce or commanding. His expression had softened, guilt replacing fury. Zoe, this whole thing went way too far. It's those two boys who crossed the line. The Foster family owes you a deep apology, he said. I know nothing we say can undo what's been done. If you want to call off the engagement, I'll support you completely. And if you do, I'll make sure the public knows it was the Foster family's fault. It'll have nothing to do with your family. And if you want compensation, tell me, we'll do whatever's necessary. The Foster family didn't rise to power just because of Grandpa's iron will. It was also because of his fairness. That clear-cut sense of right and wrong earned him loyalty and competition to do business with him. I paused, lifted my chin slightly, and sat up straighter. Grandpa, I said, my voice steady, what Noah did isn't just a disgrace to the Foster family, it's a blow to the Song family's reputation too. There's no future between me and him. I won't marry him. I let the words sink in, then continued without pause. But the engagement between our families is already public knowledge. Calling it off now would damage both sides, so the alliance can continue or be delayed. But the person I marry, I trust you understand who I'm referring to. As for compensation, I added calmly, Noah lied to me, that's a fact, so I want 5% of Foster Corporation's shares. My tone was even, deliberate, and completely clear. The whole relationship, the whole game I'd been playing with them, those were just tactics. What I really wanted was equity. And when it came to this marriage, I wasn't just after any groom. I wanted the heir to Foster Corporation. If Noah was no longer worthy, then the groom and the heir could both be renamed. Grandpa hesitated for a moment, then gave a small nod. You'll have the stock transfer agreement by tomorrow. As for Noah, he added, when you've cooled off, I'll make him apologize to you in person. His mistress and illegitimate child, our family will never acknowledge them. That I promise you. And as for the engagement, we'll go by your decision. No matter what, Zoe, you're the only one I'll ever recognize as my granddaughter-in-law. His words were sincere, coming from the heart. Then he told me to stay and rest, let my emotions settle. When I felt better, I could decide when those two disgraces downstairs were allowed to stand. I gave him a sweet, obedient, okay. As soon as he left, I flopped onto the couch and randomly picked a show to watch. 2 hours later, after a good stretch and a quick fluff of my hair, I headed downstairs. The two brothers were still kneeling. Mason knelt straight, back upright. Noah was hunched over, shoulders drooping. Looking at them like that, same faces or not, Mason's composure far outshone Noah's. Honestly, the more I looked, the more I liked what I saw. I fought back a smile and kept a straight face as I walked over to Noah. The click of my heels echoed in the room as I nudged his knee with the toe of my shoe. Get up. Noah looked up at me with eyes full of emotion. Bracing himself on the floor, he slowly stood, trembling slightly. He hadn't even managed to straighten his back yet. I slapped him hard across the face, no hesitation, no holding back. Smack. The sound rang out sharp and clear as his face was whipped to the side. Then came another slap, just as fierce on the other cheek. The two handprints were perfectly symmetrical, almost artistic. Noah gritted his teeth, swallowing his anger and humiliation. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Disgusting. Get away from me. Don't say a word. I stepped aside and walked toward Mason. You can get up now. Mason met my gaze and slowly stood. I raised my hand again, intending to strike him too, but before I could bring it down, he caught my wrist, not forcefully, just enough to hold me back. Don't use your hand, he said quietly. It'll hurt. Then he pulled off his belt, held it out to me, and added, Use this, however you want. I couldn't help but laugh a little. Was he seriously volunteering to be punished? I turned my head just enough to glance at Noah. His face was an ugly mix of red and green, beautifully pathetic. I rolled my eyes. Forget it, not worth the energy. As much as Mason had taken part in Noah's deception, I couldn't deny I had benefited from it. Fair's fair. Consider us even. I withdrew my hand and walked away without another word. The two brothers gathered their things, and we all left the Foster estate. I went straight back to the songhouse. After that, Noah kept trying to reach me. Apologizing, begging. I ignored every attempt, except to tell him we were breaking up and calling off the engagement. That same night, he showed up at my door. I made him wait outside for an hour before telling the maid to let him in. It had only been a few days, but he already looked worn down. There was stubble on his jaw, shadows under his eyes, and a kind of hopeless fatigue in his expression. The moment he saw me, he rushed over and grabbed my hand tightly. Zoe, please, don't break up with me. What happened with Olivia was a mistake. I never meant to cheat on you. I lost my head. I only asked Mason to pretend for a while. I never thought he'd actually touch you. He's a monster. He clutched my hand tighter. But I love you, Zoe. I really do. I wanted to marry you for real. I swear nothing like this will ever happen again. I've already arranged to send Olivia overseas. Please, let's go through with the wedding. Let's just move on. I scoffed. Wow, the audacity. You want me to forgive you now? I said. You think a couple of sad words can fix this? I narrowed my eyes. Do I look that cheap to you, Noah? His face froze. That's not what I meant. Save it. I waved him off and turned around. Your grandfather already agreed to end the engagement. From this moment on, we have nothing to do with each other. If you see me in the future, you can address me as Miss Song." But Noah ignored that entirely, clinging to his delusion. "No, I don't accept this. I'm not breaking up with you." "This isn't a negotiation," I said, turning back around. "It's a breakup. I still love you." "Well, I think you're filthy." Maybe it was my indifference that finally broke him. His composure cracked. "Zoe, why do you have to keep holding on to this? It was one mistake, just one. Do you really have to take it this far?" He raised his voice, frustration spilling over. "You know what kind of world we live in. No one in our circle is completely clean. Yes, I cheated. Yes, I had Mason deceive you. I admit I messed up. But what about you?" he snapped. "Mason touched you too. Don't pretend you're pure. What's the point of clinging to that? Can't we just close our eyes and move past it? I won't bring up Olivia again, and I won't hold it against you for being with Mason. Let's just get married like we planned. Why do you have to make this so ugly?" "Why?" I echoed coldly. "Because I've fallen for someone else." I reached under the coffee table, pulled out a brown envelope, and tossed it at Noah's chest. "Open it." Noah clenched his jaw but did as I said. As he opened the envelope and looked inside, his whole body stiffened. He flipped through the photos one by one, stunned. "You? How do you have these? You knew? You knew all along?" I leaned against the armrest, resting my chin in my hand. "Yeah, I've known for a while." Inside the envelope were photos of Noah and Olivia over various periods. Some showed them holding hands, some kissing, some with Olivia visibly pregnant, and even one with her holding the newborn. "You knew, and you did this on purpose," he accused, voice shaking. "You knew it was Mason pretending to be me the entire time." He threw the stack of photos to the ground, rage rising in his chest. "Zoe, you were playing me this whole time." I let out a soft, amused laugh. "And the best part?" I leaned forward slightly. "If you don't stop bothering me, these photos are going to be front-page headlines tomorrow. Let's see how that plays out." Noah wasn't stupid. He knew exactly what public exposure would mean. Under media pressure, Foster Corp's stock would take a serious hit, and all of it would land on him. Still, he forced himself to stand tall. "So what? Foster Corp can handle the loss." I nodded. "True, the company is huge. A little turbulence won't bring it down." "But what about Grandpa?" I said, my voice calm, deliberate. "Let me remind you, Noah, you're not the only heir to Foster Corp, and who gets to be vice president isn't exactly your decision. So between me and the family fortune, what do you think matters more?" His fists clenched tightly at his sides. I knew this type of man all too well. To him, the Foster inheritance meant more than his own mother. Of course he'd back down eventually. Sure enough, not long after, through gritted teeth, he spat out, "Fine, Zoe, you win. We'll cancel the engagement, but don't you dare regret it." "Regret?" I scoffed. As if. I didn't even bother giving him a second glance as I kicked him out without mercy. After that, I waited. For someone else. 2 days later, Mason came to find me. Still wearing that flawless face, absurdly handsome. "Zoe," he said gently, like we were still close. "Calling that sweetly, are we back to being something? You're not even my girlfriend." I smirked. He took a step closer. "You're calling off the engagement with my brother. That means." He rolled up his sleeve, revealing his forearm, eyes locked onto mine. "There used to be a tattoo here, a gardenia." "I've liked you for a long time, Zoe. Way longer than Noah ever did. You just didn't know it. When I found out you agreed to the Foster engagement, I was over the moon. But I never thought you'd choose him. I couldn't accept that. I even thought about stealing you away. When Noah asked me to take his place, I knew it was wrong. I knew it wasn't fair to you. But I couldn't help it. I was excited. Pathetic, right? To keep you from finding out, I had the tattoo removed the very next day. I didn't want to go back to being myself. I wanted to be him, just so I could be with you. I should probably thank Noah. If he hadn't cheated, I wouldn't have had any excuse to get close to you. You would have never left him. But now, fate's given me a chance. A real chance." Mason's eyes were dark, intense. "Zoe, I'll be anything for you. I'll be your dog or your blade, whatever you need me to be, as long as I can be with you." "I know what it is you really want." I raised an eyebrow. Mason's eyes gleamed with a wild, untamed sharpness as he spoke, dangerous and sexy, in a way that pulled me in even more. Now that was my type. I should have chosen the younger brother from the start. I extended my foot and lightly kicked his shin, then curled my finger to beckon him over. He leaned down immediately. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Mason, I'll give you a chance. Fight Noah for Foster Corp. What I want is the heir. If you win that spot, I'm yours. Mason hadn't fought for it before because he simply hadn't cared. But when it came to capability, he wasn't any less competent than Noah. Noah thought that by breaking off the engagement, he'd be in the clear. He really underestimated me. He played me, I could just as easily play him back. Mason stared at me intently for several seconds before lifting his hand to gently brush the side of my face. Then he pulled a small gift box from his pocket. "Zoe," he said softly, "I'll make you the most powerful woman in this city. Happy birthday, my love." And so the battle for the Foster Empire began. Noah had never taken Mason seriously. To him, Mason was just some guy with a technical background, not someone fit to run a corporation. But what he didn't know was that during the 2 months Mason had been pretending to be him, he had memorized every aspect of the company's operations. He'd even uncovered a few shady dealings of Noah's along the way. Personally, I wasn't all that invested in the process of their power struggle. I only cared about the result, and I had no doubt Mason would deliver. Not long after, Noah started slipping. Word got around that Olivia had panicked. She reportedly showed up at the Foster estate with the baby in her arms, kneeling in front of Grandpa Foster, begging him to acknowledge his great-grandson and grant them some benefit. "Look, Grandpa," she pleaded, "Noah gave you a grandson. There's someone to carry on the Foster name now. Doesn't that mean he should be the rightful heir?" But Grandpa didn't say a word. He had her thrown out. Foster Corp cared more about appearances than anything else. And mistresses, especially ones who showed up with illegitimate children, had no place in that world. That night, when Noah found out, he completely lost it on Olivia. They had a massive fight. He berated her over and over, accusing her of ruining his plans, of showing up uninvited, of being the one who seduced him in the first place. He called her stupid, brainless, and said she wasn't even half as good as me. Olivia snapped right back, screaming that he was pathetic, couldn't even beat his little brother in a corporate battle, and that she must have been blind to ever get involved with him. Noah, his face livid, told her to get out and to take the baby with her. I'd seen it before. The classic lover-turned-enemy scenario. Men like him always made the same mistake, thinking far too highly of themselves, as if they had any right. And I already knew Olivia would come to me eventually. Sure enough, 2 days later, she asked to meet. I allowed her into the Song estate. She walked in with the baby in her arms, looking nothing like the radiant woman I'd seen at the banquet. Her tone was blunt. "Give me 20 million, I'll take the kid and disappear. I won't see Noah again. He's yours." I laughed. "What makes you think I still want a man like Noah? Did you think my breakup was just a tantrum? A little lover's spat?" She choked on her words. I took a sip of my tea, unbothered, and looked her straight in the eye. "Noah was right about one thing. You are kind of dumb. Did you really think that just because he doted on you once, he'd never let you go? That's naive. In our world, the last thing a man lacks is women. Today, he's madly in love with you, ready to pluck stars from the sky. Tomorrow, he's got his eye on a supermodel or some rising starlet. He throws a few bucks your way, tells you to get lost, and acts like you never existed. What attracted him to you was your youth, your looks, your sweet, gentle ways. Beyond that, you have nothing. You mentioned the baby, but if Grandpa Foster refuses to acknowledge him, what value does he really have? All he'll be is a stain on Noah's record in Grandpa's eyes. In your position, the smartest thing to do would be to leverage your best asset. Cater to Noah, keep him happy, squeeze as much money as you can out of him. A half-dead camel is still bigger than a horse. No matter how this ends, what Noah can offer you is still more than anyone. But no, you actually thought that since I broke off the engagement, you'd become the official one. You picked fights with him, acted like you had the right. Sweetheart, you're just a mistress he keeps on the side. What makes you think you're entitled to stand toe-to-toe with him? Olivia's face went ghostly pale. Her fingers twisted together in silent anxiety. Of the 3 women I'd dealt with so far, she was easily the dumbest. She took herself way too seriously. Take today, for instance, she came here to negotiate with me, offering terms. But she got one thing very, very wrong. Her deal held zero appeal for me. Why would I want to strike any sort of bargain with her? If she'd really known how to play this, she should have walked in here sobbing, full of apologies, on her knees begging for forgiveness. The more pitiful, the better. Maybe she could have triggered a moment of sympathy. We're both women, after all. Maybe I would have felt generous and tossed her some money out of charity. I lowered my gaze and gently blew on my tea. Olivia bit down on her back teeth, still clinging to her pride. I won't stoop to that. I have my dignity. Dignity? I almost laughed out loud. Forget it. Before I could say more, the baby in her arms stirred and started to cry. Probably hungry again. I'd already lost interest in the conversation. I stood up and waved her off. You can go now. We have nothing to talk about. I don't waste time on idiots, no matter how free my schedule is. I called a maid to show her out. Ignoring her attempts to plead, I turned and walked back inside. It wasn't long before Olivia made it very clear she was done with Noah. She abandoned the baby right at the doorstep of the Foster estate and vanished on her own. Not long after, Noah completely fell from power. Mason had gathered every shred of evidence against him and presented it directly to Grandpa Foster. Furious, Grandpa called an emergency board meeting, stripped Noah of all his positions, and handed them over to Mason. I wasn't surprised at all. After all, I'd always had faith in Mason. He never let me down, not in any way. Word had it that Noah trashed his entire room that day, smashed everything in sight, then locked himself inside with a bottle of liquor. He spent the whole night calling me. That same night, Mason showed up at my place. The second he saw me, he pressed me against the wall and kissed me. Zoe? Zoe, Zoe, he breathed, kissing me like he couldn't wait another second. I let him kiss me for a minute before gently pushing him away. What's the rush? He crushed me back into his chest. Look, he said breathlessly, I did it. Are you satisfied with this blade of yours? If you want Foster Corp, he added, it's yours. I smirked, nudged his knee with mine. Just like that? You're really handing it to me? Mason's smile was dark, wild, obsessive. Zoe, you mean more to me than anything in this world. I'll give you whatever you want, my life or Noah's. I blinked slowly. Still a rabid dog, I see. I am, he said without shame, kissing each of my knuckles. But I'm your dog, yours alone. Honestly, it wasn't news to me. I'd known he was crazy since day one. Well, if he's my rabid dog, then I'll just have to keep him chained up and taken care of. Mason scooped me up and tossed me onto the bed like I weighed nothing. Yanked his tie loose with one hand. Zoe, when are you going to give me an official title? I laughed and kicked him away lightly. Depends on my mood, whether your name ends up on the wedding invitation or not. Well, that'll be up to how hard you work for it.